Hi guys. Here we are with you with the second part of the Laravel tutorial for beginners. Every application has a bunch of configuration values that need to be accessed from different files all across the application, like the name of the app, database credentials, mail service credentials, and so on. To help manage all these environment variables, Laravel has a .env file at the root of the application. These are some app-related variables like name, environment, application key, which is unique to each project, then the app debug value, which determines how much of the error information should be displayed to the user. In the local environment, this is set to true by default because the error information is helpful for the developer to debug, but in production, this value should be set to false, otherwise, you risk exposing sensitive data. App URL is the base URL. In production, this would contain your domain name. Here is a set of database credentials including the type of connection, username, password. When you install a new Laravel application in your local development environment, you will see that this .env file is already added in gitignore. This is not only for security reasons, it's also because each person in your team might have a different set of configuration values and your production server also, which is why we have a .env.example file which has all the variable names similar to .env file without the values or with default values. This file is committed to the repository, and everybody on the team can use it to create or edit their own .env files. So it's important to make changes to this example file, too, that is, add all of these new variables whenever you add them to your .env file. Now, the values of these .env file are retrieved from various files within the config directory. Look at database.php, for example. The env helper method returns the value of this key from the .env file. The second argument value is used as a default value in case the key is not found. Now, when we have to access these environment variables, we should not do this directly using the env function. Instead, we should use them through the configuration. For example, if we wish to access the app name, let's say in our welcome blade view, open welcome.blade.php, and let's say we want to replace this title with our app name. You can do so using the config helper method using the dot syntax. So our app name will be app.name. You can check that right here. If you go to app.php, the application name is a variable in the app.php file. So that's how you access all of these environment variables using the config method. Let's save this file, change our app name here to maybe new app, or something like that, and go to the browser, refresh. Notice that this has changed. So I encourage you to browse the contents of all the config files here and get a better hold on what are the configurations available in Laravel. In this course, we will use a MySQL database with Laravel. As you can see in this part of the .env file, database-related items are listed, including the database name, username, password for connecting to the database, and other items. A database with this name was already created when the app was created and ready to connect. So everything is set up for us to start working with this database. Before we start creating a table and writing some queries, let's use a GUI tool to interact with the database. Well, I use phpMyAdmin to manage my database, which is a tool for managing MySQL databases. To access it, I use a browser to enter the address http://localhost/phpMyAdmin. In this section, we see all the default databases that we have nothing to do with and we only work with our own project database. Let's see what the users table has. For the moment, I want to delete some unnecessary columns here and keep this simple. So select all the items we don't need and remove all the unnecessary columns like email_verified, password, remember_token. Yeah, even created_@ and updated_@. Let me just keep only ID, name and email for the moment. Alright. Next, I want to manually create 2 random users. You can click on the Insert button. You can type in any name and email. Insert this column and create another user like John at example.com. Now from within our Laravel application, let's execute some raw SQL queries to fetch this data. Open web.php. Let's reuse this route. Instead of returning a view, let's fetch our users from the database and display them right here. This could be done in 3 different ways in Laravel. Number 1, using raw SQL queries. Number 2, Query Builder. And number 3 is Eloquent ORM. You can execute raw SQL queries in Laravel with the help of the DB facade. A facade is a simplified interface for complex operations. You will encounter more facades offered by Laravel in the upcoming videos. To run a raw select query, we can use the select method and we can specify our select query here. So here, let's simply select star from users, we will get all the users. Let's store this. Let's assign this to a variable called $users and then dump and die to the browser. So dd is what we will use a lot to check what we get in this variable, right? Save this file, open the browser, and refresh. So we fetched our users from the database. We can use other methods of the DB facade like delete, insert, update, and more. Next, let's fetch the same users from the database using the query builder instead of raw queries. This is once again done with the DB facade using the table method. Here, you specify the name of the table and you can select only certain columns, like say you want only the name and email. And this has to be in an array. You can chain this by further queries of where or where all, where any, and so on. For example, if we want to get only the users where the email is not null, we can say where not null, email. You can even order this by any column. So let's say we'd like to order it by name and so on. Finally, let's get the data. Once again, let me store this in the users variable and dd, $users. I will have to comment these out for this to work. OK. Save the file, go back and refresh the browser. Now this time, notice that we don't simply get an array like we did last time, we get a collection. A lot more can be done with Laravel collections, which we'll explore later in the course. Of course, here we have the data as requested, ordered by name, and only the selected columns. Though the query builder is powerful, for this course, we will use Eloquent ORM, which we'll explore soon. Using the database client extension or any other GUI tool like MyAdmin, we can create tables manually. Like you can click on create a new table and so on. But in production, creating tables manually is definitely not the best approach. Migrations in Laravel help creating and modifying table structures, acting like version control. So let's create a new students table using migrations. Open terminal and type the command php artisan make migration and specify the name of the migration, like let's say create_students_table. This could be any name, but this particular name will help Laravel understand that you're trying to create a students table. The migration is created for us. It's within the database directory and migrations. We use the schema facade to create and modify tables. You can see 2 methods here, up and down. The up method is used to create a table or column, while the down method is used to drop the table or column in case of rollback. The create method of schema facade is used for creating a new table, which takes in the first parameter as the name of the table, and the closure is used to define the table structure. As you can see, Laravel has guessed the table name as students and pre-filled it for you. It also knows that you want to create it. For specifying the columns, you can see 2 methods here, ID and timestamps. Laravel offers multiple such methods for creating different types of columns. The ID method creates the primary key ID column that auto-increments, and this timestamps method creates 2 columns, created_at and updated_at. So you don't have to manually type all of these. These will be auto-updated. Now let's create 2 columns of our own, like name and email. So use the string method to create a name column. Also, the same method to create an email column as well. Okay, let's run this migration now. Open terminal again and type in php artisan migrate. Now this command will run all the migrations that haven't previously been run. So hit enter. Currently, we only have one migration that is new. So this is done. You should be able to see a students table now. Let's refresh tables. And yes, there it is with all the columns that we created. Feel free to explore the structure of the other tables that Laravel created by default, like migrations and password reset tokens and so on. Laravel's Eloquent feature makes it easy and fun to interact with databases. Each table in the database is associated with an Eloquent model. Through these models, we can retrieve, insert, update, and delete the records from the database. Open the terminal and let's create a model using the command php artisan make model, followed by the name of the model. By convention, this name should be similar to the table name, but should start with an uppercase and be singular. So in our case, the model name associated with the students table will be student. If your table name is college students, then your model name will be college student, like so. Alright. So let me remove this and make the student model. This creates your model within the app models directory. This is all you need to be able to interact with your data. Let's look at our students table and refresh. I have inserted some dummy data to be able to fetch them. You can do the same. Let's fetch these using Eloquent. Go back to web.php now. Here, let's use our student model to get all the data from our students table. We can assign it to students and then dump this to see what we get. Once again, I'm going to comment this out and save the file. Go to the browser, refresh. Once again, we have a collection here, but this time with an array of student objects. Like so. You can iterate through this collection using for each, just like an array. So you can say for each, $students as $student, maybe echo the name of the student like echo $student name and maybe a line break. Let's look at the output. Right. Now using this model class, let me comment this out or remove this. And using this model class, you can also use the same query builder like this and get the same output. So let me copy all of this and paste it here. Just remove this. So student, select name, email, where not null. Everything else will be the same. Now let me dump this. We'll see if we get the same result. Look at the browser, refresh. Yes, we have the exact same result now, but even better with the student objects. Next, let's try and insert some data using Eloquent. Create an object. $student equals new student. Student name is, you can give them some name like Jane. Student email, you can give it anything, jane@example.com. And now let's save this using the model and the method save. We will have to comment this out. Otherwise, this code will not execute. Now let's go to the browser and hit the same route so that this code will execute. Refresh, and we will not see anything here. But let's look at the database client to see if our data was inserted. And yes, there we have the new student created. We will do more of this once we start our real project.